Welcome to Between Two Speakers. I'm Randy Ford. I'm a writer and storytelling strategist at First Story Strategies.
And I'm Marianna Swallow. I'm a professional public speaking coach and instructor of business and professional speaking at Loyola University in Chicago. Today, we are thrilled to have with us filmmaker and retired college instructor, Toney W. Merritt. Toney, hi, welcome to Between Two Speakers.
Hello, thank you for having me. Appreciate
And
it.
I'm going to kick it over to Randy because he wants to talk to us about college instructing and being in front of a classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have had the pleasure to do a few guest lectures, and then of course I do some training and workshops. But I am very curious to hear from you all what it's like spending even more time in the classroom and what it is like. And Toney, we'll start with you. What is it like presenting before a class? Just in general, what are some of the first things that you learned?
One is to be patient with students and to encourage them, but also kind of like not have their expectations be greater than they imagine. Like everybody wants to ask you how much money you can make doing something before they even learn the craft. So that's one thing. And then there are people that, in my case, have looked at me and said, "Well, I don't think I want to take this class because you don't fit my idea of what the industry is about." And yes, that might be true in a lot of aspects, but that doesn't mean that I don't have something of value to share with them. So
Yeah.
it's like making them comfortable. I tell people the only person that has an ego in this room is me. Everybody has to check theirs at the door, so that we all can have a safe place to learn.
Yeah, that takes a special kind of patience to be able to let them, have those judgments even, or to tolerate those feelings that they're having.
Yes.
Mayor, what are, because you do a lot of speaking inside and in the classroom, what do you think is the difference? What have you noticed?
You mean the difference between like classroom speaking to a class of students versus like in the corporate world or a conference per se?
Yes.
Um, it's funny. I always wanted to teach college because, and my logic was they want to be there. But if I compare it to like a college classroom versus a corporate conference that I speak at or a corporate client, it's almost like the college kids are there because they have to be there. A lot of the classes I teach are requirements, and out in the real world, forgive the phrase, it's that they are coming to me because they know I have the expertise and they are eager. They will listen. My students are good and they listen too, but it's, this is maybe simplistic terms to put it in, but it's really, pre-college versus post-college, and you see the difference there. I think once you get out of college, you do have a different kind of appreciation for learning. So when someone gives you that opportunity, it's like, oh yes, me, please, please, please. So it's a little different there.
Yeah. Can you think of a time where you, Mayor, just it felt like you really came through to a student, in a way that maybe you wouldn't have the opportunity to do in a corporate speaking session, or for that matter, has there been a moment where you realized you needed to kind of change course, where something that you relied on for a long time kind of hasn't worked? And then Toney, I'll ask you the same thing, but you get time to
Sure.
think about it. Sorry to put you on the spot.
That's okay. Yeah, it's interesting. That's a great question because with corporate engagements like a conference talk or a workshop, you only get to see these folks for a couple of hours, or even if it's a once a week workshop, it's over in a short period of time. Whereas with college students, I get to spend time building the relationship over a semester. And last year, I had a communications class where it was always a struggle for me to know if I was reaching them or not. It was kind of a typical classroom where less than 50% were engaged and eager, and then some were kind of like, I have to take this. When do I get to get out of here? And honestly, it didn't discourage me, but I kind of always wondered, like, does anybody care about this stuff? I know some kids are engaged, but when the semester ended, I got 2 different emails from 2 different students in that class who said, thank you for this class. Thank you for bringing your real world knowledge. And they listed specific concepts I taught them and specific lectures we had including one you gave, Randy, they cited those as skills that would help them in the real world when they got their jobs after college. And that made me feel good, and it reminded me that I did, bring value to the table in this class where I wasn't getting a lot of in-the-moment feedback.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm still friends with with my favorite professor from college. And so that relationship is still going. So what about you, Tony? Are there any moments where you felt like you really were breaking through?
Oh yeah, definitely. And not really realizing it at the time, but I remember in the 90s, I had a student who was Hispanic, a young man who could have either been a gangbanger or gone on the straight and narrow, but he had a real knack for writing, and I acknowledged that to him in front of the class, just because it was a fact. And later that week, I got a letter from his mother saying thank you because that was a defining moment for him. And she said he was on the verge of choosing to go one way or the other. And he followed through. I've still been in touch with him. This is going on 30 years now. And he's still writing screenplays and stuff. And he has gotten a certain amount of acknowledgement. And, I take no credit other than my modus operandi has always been to pay attention to what people say, hear them, not just be there occupying a space for 3 hours and, going through my syllabus. No, I pay attention because I know what it's like to be an outlier. And, everybody needs to have a chance to have a voice. And that's, I've had several occasions over the years where that has been the case. And like yourself, I have a lot of former students that I'm still in contact with. And to use Mayor, I've known Mayor for like 25 years already, or more, I think.
More, yeah.
More. Are we getting older or what?
We're getting old, I know.
Oh, okay. But,
I'm still,
I'd like to share a little accolade. I mean, Tony was a great teacher, and I enjoyed working with him very much, which is how our friendship began. But Tony's also had film students who've gone on to direct videos for Kanye West. And the reason I know this, Tony, I hope you don't mind me busting you out of it, was Tony and I were on the phone swapping stories one day, and he said, well, this guy was my student, and we talked, and he's directing videos for Kanye West now. And I said, what? He's doing what? And he said, he's directing videos for Kanye West, the rapper. And I said, do you mean Kanye West?
Oh, well.
He meant Kanye West. So I think that's a great testament to what a great instructor Tony is.
Yeah.
If I can jump in there to follow up, that particular student lives in LA, and an example of paying attention is he's a really good filmmaker, and he had a film where he had a real gun in it, and he was like doing like a Dirty Harry thing with it, and then he put it in his mouth. And I said, this is not good. So I told my chair, who in turn contacted the dean of students, and he had to go see psychiatrists. And he came back and thanked me for it because he had been contemplating suicide. Wow. Now he's living large in LA, doing really good work, and he always touches base with me, But it's just about paying attention, though. That's the key thing, Everybody has something to say. Everybody has something to contribute, So
that's incredible. That's incredible. And talk about the pressure that is on you all as instructors, and then how you've just given us two great examples, Tony, of how you've used that for good things just by being present and paying attention. That's amazing. And then the pressure right now, we're talking by Zoom. It would be great if we were all in the same place and have a discussion in a studio somewhere. But Mayor, what has the transition been like for you going to online instruction?
Well, this semester has definitely been a challenge. Last semester, we started in person and then switched to Zoom. And the benefit there, if we can say benefit, it's such a weird time, was that I had established a relationship with them in person. And there definitely is a different energy and a different connection that comes up. I find when everything starts from Zoom or starts virtually and that's where it stays, it is taxing in a way that teaching in person isn't. It's still effective. You have to plan differently. And I want to go back to Tony's point about paying attention. I had one student this week who had the Zoom for class set up here, but then he had another laptop over here. And he's doing this while we're talking, and and they've got their name on the Zoom, so I named him by name and said, "Please pay attention. Please be with us." I mean, this is a rule I have in the classroom: no cell phones, no laptops, no tablets. I want you present. I want you working, and I do it best I can virtually. So it's the energy is different, the relationship's different, but I think that the core basics of what will make you a solid instructor are the same: paying attention, inviting them to talk back to you, asking for them to make time to talk to you. But also, the way I teach, and I think Toney probably has an element of this in what he does too, I invite them to bring themselves to the table. I don't want robotic businessy presentations.
Yeah.
The best presentations I've seen, and I can't wait to see what comes this semester, were presentations about favorite bands, Ukrainian Christmas, how to make a pizza from homemade. And there was even something I learned last year, the Great Emu War in the early part of the 20th century. There was an emu war in New Zealand. And
Huh.
yeah, from one of my students, and I let them, for presentations mostly, do whatever they want. And then their true personalities and what means something to them comes out. So I want to keep that there virtually as well.
Yes, yes, yes.
You
Wow.
found the same thing that you learned from your students, or?
Yeah, I do. It's like that Randy Newman lyric from Gone Dead Train. You got to teach to learn. And a lot of times, I've picked up tips from my students, whether it's writing tips or digital editing tips and so forth. And, so uh, the people that always talk about, well, those that can do and those who can't teach don't know what they're talking about, because, teaching is a great way to learn. And to follow up on what Merritt said about attention, of course, I've been retired for 5 years, so I don't have the experience of teaching on Zoom, but I taught a digital editing class, and my station, I could see what everybody was doing on theirs. And I had a student who was surfing the web while he was doing his supposed to be doing his work, but what I could do is I could turn him off altogether. For mine, I had the master key thing for that. So
Did you turn
you
them
know,
off?
I would give them a warning. Hey, hi, can you like come back into the class? And if he didn't, boop, gone. you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, speaking of being gone, I think we're about out of time.
oh, no.
But this is great discussion, because I have always hated that phrase about those who can't teach. So it was really good to hear you all talk about those experiences.
Thanks,
Yes,
Randy.
yeah,
Thanks for interviewing us.
yeah.
Thanks for being here, Toney. I'm Randy Ford. This has been Between Two Speakers.
And I'm Marianna Swallow. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.